folks. Welcome to a podcast about Catholic things. This is Eric, the ambassador of common sense, and I'm here with
Dan, the ambassador of nonsense. Welcome, everyone.
I think we're going to have kind of a polarizing podcast today.
Quite possibly.
I mean, it's not like the subject is polarizing, but I think my take the opinion on it is.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm going to admit I have thoughts, but my thoughts fall a little bit short of actual opinions. So there may be cases where I am completely agreeing with you, and there may be a few cases where I decide to play devil's advocate.
Okay.
As we go through stuff.
Okay. Well,
wait, before we get started, okay. I'm gonna I wish it weren't Advent, but if it weren't Advent, it wouldn't be a thing anyway. But, we used to do the beer of the week, and I'm not doing a beer of the week anymore, but I have a beer right now. And if I'm understanding the can correctly, because it's a German beer and everything on it is in German, this is either from a recipe or from a brewery that's from 1543. And the reason I have it is because my wife, now this is completely outside of the, what would you say, the spirit of Advent. But my wife, as an early birthday gift, got me like this big pack of all German import pints of beer, like one per day for all the days in December from 1 through 24. So there's 24 of them. Okay. And so now I've got to drink one each night. Maybe
it's a barrel from the 1500s. Maybe it's just really old beer.
It could be really old beer. That's possible too.
Okay. Well, we're talking about sports. But yes. I mean, what kind of prompted this is every now and then I'll say, well, we could talk about sports, and then I shy away from that because I know that my opinion is the minority for most people. And then I saw Timothy Gordon did a podcast, and I almost tried to find a way to reach him to see if he would debate me on the subject, but first of all, we're not big for him enough for him to. He'd be punching down, so it'd be.
Yeah.
Second of all, I'm not real good at debates anyway, but I just feel like this has to be talked about, and I don't even understand why more people don't think like me on this, and maybe it's like sentimentalism, you know. Your dad was in sports, so you were in sports and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
could be.
I have no sentimental attachment whatsoever to any sport. And, I hear people talk about sports as, they use words like, virtue engendering and a means of virtue, as if sports are specially something that, more so than, say, I don't know, pick anything, any hobby that you want, making, painting, writing,
music,
whatever, music. And I just don't see it that way. As a matter of fact, I would even say maybe a little bit less than something like music or painting. I'm not musical at all, and I'm a terrible artist, but I can see those things being more valuable than any sport. And I don't know. I guess we should start at the beginning and define what are sports. I mean, if you go back, let's not even talk about school sports for a second. Just sports in general is generally kids, boys, in a competitive game.
Yeah,
because
some kind of physical contest.
It's a little bit different than games like Ghosts in the Graveyard or zombie tag or whatever your version of that was in your
yeah.
Because it was boys, and it was, those games are competitive, but sports is a little bit different. But still, at its heart, sports is playing. It's just play. That's all it is. Before you get into all the other high school stuff and whatever, bunch of boys in a sandlot throwing a baseball. That's play. That's what it is.
So let me put a thought out there though. If is the difference, maybe somebody who's into sports, which I'm not, might say, well, okay, it's play until you turn it into a discipline in which you begin exercising and working yourself in order to be able to execute the play more perfectly so that you do better at it against other people who are doing the same thing. So, for example, when you play Ghost in the Graveyard, there's no such thing as practicing Ghost in the Graveyard. You just all get together and play the game.
We'll do
you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And whereas if you're going to run a race, okay, in order to be even a little bit serious about racing, you got to go run on your own when you're not racing.
Yeah.
So if we bring that dimension into it, there's at least a little bit, and it's slight and it's very subtle, but at least there's a little bit of a delineator between pure play and what we might call sports. Or at least there's a category of things that if we could assign the label sports to it, we might be able to use that to say, okay, we'll talk about these as sports so that everybody knows we're not talking about Ghost in the Graveyard.
Yeah.
Or Foursquare or whatever.
I would point out that Ghost in the Graveyard is usually played by a huge diverse group. And it's kind of accepted that there are going to be kids who are running a whole lot faster. And I guess being really, really good at it really isn't any fun.
Right.
But I don't, the whole idea okay, so running fast. Fulton Sheen talked about play in itself. And I'm not sure, but I think he was quoting Aquinas, but I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. And here I'm going to quote him, and I'm probably going to get that wrong. But his point is that play is work without purpose. Mm-hmm. And so you've got boys running around outside playing whatever it is they're playing, and mom comes out and says, run to the store and get me blah, blah, blah. And suddenly he doesn't want to do it. But it's the same right. action. He said nothing's
running
changed.
Before. Yeah, you can run now.
Go ahead. Yeah, run and get me my, thing for supper. And he doesn't want to do that. But I think it becomes a sport when people of close to the same ability end up playing each other. It becomes more like a sport anyway.
Oh, okay.
There's
an equity to the competitive aspect
right.
of it.
Yeah. And I mean, even from early on, I guess these things have always been there with us. And you can look back through history at
well, we know the Greek Olympics. And we know St. Paul, in his letters, referred to running races. It was a thing in his time. Mm-hmm.
I would point out, though, that the Greek Olympics, that was kind of, they were at the peak of their civilization, right?
So they had time for leisure.
Right. And then the Romans, at the peak of their civilization, we had gladiators,
the gladiator games,
stuff like that.
So those were the sports of the Romans.
Even the noble knights, it was the knights
who
were into sports.
Contests and stuff like that, right?
It was the noblemen, the
Yes.
people who didn't have to go out and work for a living.
Right. Sports is a leisure activity, and you're right. There's no point to it or purpose behind it other than the purpose of winning the game. But there's no purpose behind the game itself. Okay, you play baseball, you get runs, you won the game, and therefore, what? You won the game. That's it.
Yeah, okay. Everybody say you won the game. And I guess there should also be mentioned the fact that there's kind of a class to it, You
mean like you see in high school, even starting out in grade school, where the sport playing class of kids? That kind of class?
I mean like there's a class of people who would engage in it, and a class of people who would probably not be allowed to be engaged in it.
Oh, okay.
If I understand tennis, for example, it was a rich man's game, and like the scoring was made to be difficult precisely to keep poor people from playing it.
Oh, no kidding.
That's what someone told me.
Did not know that.
I could be wrong about that. But, we could talk about what they did 2,000 years ago before civilization, but we can get a better look at what uncivilized places did by looking at the Native Americans in America.
Yeah. So did they have sports?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
You can look through the diaries of the Jesuits who came and tried to evangelize, and from the time, and it was a boy thing, from the time they were very young, all contests between the boys were they kind of revolved around, shooting an arrow, throwing a ball or a rock.
Mm-hmm.
Really practicing learning to kill.
Yeah. Okay.
So there was an actual purpose to being good in sports before civilization.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to sidetrack us for just a brief minute because I have to ask this question. You just referred to shooting an arrow.
Yeah.
Did the American Indians develop bow and arrow technology on their own, separate from being introduced to it by Europeans?
Yeah, as far as I know. I don't know how they made strings and stuff, but...
Well, it would have been like a fiber of, say, muscle or something, right? From an animal?
I guess so. I mean, the early French Jesuits up north, people who Isaac Jogues and that era of people, talked about the way boys, by the time they're 11 or 12, can hit moving targets.
Wow.
With an arrow.
Okay.
Their entire day was set up around getting good at doing this stuff. Mm-hmm. Of course, it also meant eating because you had to eat.
That's how you get food. That's right. Okay.
You're not going to eat unless you're good at it. So, there were sport, and then when there were celebrations, the men would come together and, hey, we'll have a shooting contest or a throwing contest or whatever contest, because that's what men do when you get them together. They have contests.
Some kind of contest.
Nowadays, we get together and we watch other people having a contest. I always thought that was silly, but...
I do have to... Well, okay, here's the weird thing. I have to admit this. I don't like watching sports, although I like going to a baseball game, but only because it's nostalgic. I grew up going to baseball games once in a while.
Right. Right.
But I never like watching sports on TV.
Yeah.
But here's the weird thing about that. I enjoy movies that feature sports. Of whatever. Like there was the one movie about the college basketball coach that was like the first one to run with the all black like lineup or something like that. There was Hoosiers. There was even when it's campy
Cinderella Man
and stupid like Major League. What's the one you just said?
Cinderella Man.
I don't even know that one.
I can't remember his name.
What's
it's
it about?
A boxing movie.
Okay. I haven't seen that one. I liked Rocky though. I liked The Karate Kid. Yeah, I liked Rocky.
Okay,
1.
well then you would like Cinderella Man. It was a good movie.
All right.
And it was a clean movie too.
Yeah.
So
I like this.
Russell Crowe.
The Gridiron Gang. Okay, Russell Crowe. I think I have heard of that.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, so I enjoy movies that feature sports, even where sports is the main feature, but I have never enjoyed, as a general rule, watching a sport competition on television. If my team is in the Super Bowl, I'll watch it.
Right.
Or, the World Series, I'll watch the games if I can. That, it depends on your schedule if it's so baseball.
That brings us to what sports really are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they start out at kids playing and just competing and making themselves better in order that they can win those games, which in a primitive culture would have a use. You should be good at throwing a ball, and running fast, but in a civilized culture really doesn't have any use at all other than winning those sports. And then sports become only one thing. And as hard as I try to think about it, it is only entertainment.
That's true.
That's
like
all
in a primitive culture, it's like, okay, you have to become good at, it's like, all of our kids are grown up and we make them do different things in order to be able to learn what they may need to do as an adult. We'll make them come out and work on the car with us, for example, because you got to learn this stuff. So that's one of the things. You have to be able to hunt and kill an animal. And so we're going to make you learn to do it. But in order to sort of draw you into it, so it's not so tedious, and so that you really do give it your best, and it's not just a chore that you're, completing because I'm forcing you to as your dad. I'm going to make it into a sport, and I'm going to give you praise when you do it better than the other kids in the tribe and stuff like that.
Wouldn't it be weird if they could have made schoolwork just as fun as baseball? I mean, can you imagine how smart and advanced we'd all
Everybody would be. Well, Mr. Howard did that with his spelling football.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But yeah, but then it does become a matter of entertainment, and that goes all the way back to grade school. And I played baseball for like a half a year, and I hated it, and I thought it was incredibly boring. And that was like in first grade. I think I tried it again in sixth grade, but by the time you get to sixth grade...
Oh, if you haven't been playing, forget it.
Yeah, the other kids have been playing, and there's kind of a group there, and you go in and they're like, you're not one of us. And you're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll go home. But even then, I mean, these kids they're having fun doing it. I guess they do have fun because they keep doing it. So the sports kids have fun playing their sports, but it's still entertainment. Mm-hmm. If you're a parent, it's entertainment. And it's something to be like real passionate about, and they sure get passionate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a certain kind of person who gets into following sports. They really enjoy tracking the standings of the teams and and the stats of the players and the strategies of the coaches and wait, why is he putting that player in? This player would be better, and all of that kind of stuff. They really get into that. I don't understand that. I've never been able to get into it myself, and I have to wonder, well, why are you so interested in it? It's not going to affect your life unless you're out there betting money on it. I mean, if you're,
Yeah.
It's kind of like caring about, the product lines of various companies that you have nothing to do with. Well, okay, if I'm considering buying stock in that company, or if I have stock in that company, maybe, but short of that, why do I care? It's kind of like that, except people get like that with sports.
It's a weird phenomena. And the funny thing is the mental energy they put into it, because I know guys who they're just stupid people. I mean, I tried. They don't remember very simple concepts, or maybe they don't understand them from the start. But they can rattle off these statistics and tell me who's more likely to win what game and why. And it's like, if you understand all this stuff, how come you can't? Yeah, why can't you understand how to fix this? Whatever. Why do you need me here?
If you understand that stuff, why'd you put a bullet in a vice?
Yeah.
Sorry. I had to do something like that.
It's odd.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
So here we're going to talk about this, and people already know what we think about it. But I want to give this an objective view, and I want to give it a fair shake.
Yeah.
Is it proper for Catholic men to be into sports? With the understanding, first of all, that the sports, not just the profession, but the whole industry is all about entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, with the understanding that participation in sports does help you physically be a fit person.
It does help you physically.
You exercise and you,
right.
whatever it is you do, and it makes you more fit. So, I guess if you're going to,
but that can be achieved with just community sports, pickup basketball at the park, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't need a professional sports industry for that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
in fact, I would say the professional sports industry probably encourages more people to, I guess, attain their sports by proxy rather than going out and doing it themselves.
Right, because look, when we were young, just up the street at the KFC lot, a bunch of, I would say around 30 guys would get together. It seemed like almost once a week and play baseball or softball.
So many summer nights playing. It was baseball, and then as the guys got a little bit older, turned into softball. And so many days that I played tag football in the street.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a wide street. We were lucky. We had a great big wide street that we could do that, and cars came by infrequently enough that, once in a while, I heard a car, and everybody get over to the sidewalk until the car was gone.
Hold on a second. What? All right.
So I'll be back in a little bit.
All right.
Where's Sam?
Huh?
Where's Sam?
So she got the same thing Sam's got?
No, I don't know. But where is Sam? I'll be back.
All right. Love you. They're sick. I swear, I can't get the sickness out of my house. It's driving me. Maybe that's because I'm not into sports. But I would, on the whole, say that I'm healthier than most men my age. Much, much healthier than most men my age. Because I get sick like once every few years. But this last flu,
it's weird.
It took me almost at least 3 weeks to get over. It was bad. And now suddenly
Everybody
the people who... No, they had it before.
Oh, okay.
Now it's like something else is going through. It's like, I don't know. My whole house is like a big germ factory or something because everybody's getting sick. Anyway, what was I going to say about that? Yeah, okay. And then I remember when we were kids, Dad would, he would get in the van and whoever wanted to come could come and drive up to the field house and play basketball with whoever was there.
He did the pickup basketball in the park. Yeah.
And
you know what? I think he sometimes actually did a similar thing with tennis. Because they had the tennis courts up there too.
Yeah, yeah. And those tennis courts, you had to wait, for an open court. And I drive by there now and
they're empty, aren't they?
Yeah, you do see that people here and there, but for the most part, they're empty. The basketball courts are empty. There's nobody playing softball in the KFC lot anymore.
No.
The world has changed, and
by the way, guys, we're saying Knights of Columbus, not Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Right, it's not the Kentucky Fried Chicken parking lot.
This is one of those, a lot of Knights of Columbus councils are attached to churches. This is one that actually has their own hall and their own building. And they had a big parking lot in the back, and they would host weddings and stuff at the hall. And then behind the parking lot was a great big flat grass area that they owned, but we would just go up and play softball and stuff on it.
And as far as I know, there were never any complaints from them.
I don't think so.
Everyone in the neighborhood
knew
that, let's go to the KFC lot. It was almost like a Cheviot City Park, for around our block area.
Right.
And people played sports, and it was a hobby. I don't know what else you would call it, but see,
we just played. But that's all it was. Yeah.
It was work without purpose. But here's the thing, and maybe I'm showing my true colors here. I hate work. And I would only work if I had some kind of purpose to it. And to me, any hobby you choose ought to, after the fact, have something to show for it. And I've gotten into like a lot of different hobbies. I pick up a new hobby every few months.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it's just blacksmithing.
Yeah, I did the blacksmithing and the tie-dye.
Actually, you need to pick the tie-dye back up. Those were neat.
Yeah, I still got all the stuff. I just haven't done it in a while because, I had a box of shirts and when we moved in here, I didn't realize that you had to watch out for rats.
Oh, they chew through them?
Yeah, they made a nest inside it made a nest inside my box of shirts and ruined all the shirts, and I was like, dang on it.
Yeah.
But, now I'm
you were that way as a kid,
typewriters.
Too. I mean, you didn't like the sports, but you got into film developing.
Yeah. It was whatever. I don't know. I like to do something, but I want to have something that I could say, here, see what I did. And sports. Now, did any of your kids get into sports?
No, and that's the thing. I feel like in school, or at least, through those school ages, it's at least good for boys to be into sports. And that's one of the things I feel guilty about that I didn't push them into it. I tried, I tried a couple of them to do baseball. And for a while, some of them did soccer. But honestly, it's like, for me, it just seemed more bother than it was worth to get them to all the practices and stuff. That's one of the things.
Right.
When we were kids, we said, "Oh, I want to play baseball." Okay, well, it's time for baseball practice after school. I got on my bike. I rode to the park. I did the baseball practice. I rode back home. And sometimes it was Harvest Home Park. Sometimes it was the Cheviot Fieldhouse, wherever it was. And the only thing that I ever needed rides to was if it was a game at say like one of the local schools that was a little bit further away than I knew how to get to on my bike or something like that.
Right.
So it was kind of easy for my parents for me to play baseball, but it's not like that anymore. It's because it's because of the way they do neighborhoods now. It's like, okay, we're going to do the neighborhood. We're going to take this section of land and it's all going to be just houses and nothing else. And then we're going to take this other section of land way over here, and that's where we're going to put the sports fields or the schools or whatever. And so kids can't just walk from their house to where the sports fields are anymore like they used to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it's not just that you got to get the kids to these various. They expect the parents to take part in things and to do things and to raise money and to do all kinds of weird things.
It's your week to bring snacks or whatever it is. I had to do that kind of stuff with my kids sometimes.
I will admit, I did have, out of all 6 of my kids, I did have one who was exceptionally talented. Mm-hmm. And here's another part of this whole thing that makes me think this is not good for a normal Catholic man. I would take him, and anyone who saw him realized how talented he was.
Yeah.
And, but there was, even in the 3rd grade, there was this weird, it was like politics as far as your kid getting field time. There were these weird games you had to play. And, of course, the coach's son and the coach's son's best friends, those were the ones who were going to get field time, and they were the ones who were going to get the better positions. And so there's that. And I tried to kind of get into that game, but it made me so sick that I quickly got out of it. And I was like, I'll take you to football if you want, but,
you got to run your own politics to get time playing.
That means, and, he was really talented, but he was also like me, kind of lazy. And so it petered out, but, I got a foul taste in my mouth after that. And I saw a couple things that made me even more strongly, just kind of, I don't want to say despise sports, but despise the way they are, the way we do them. And, I hear that if you're a good Catholic person, you can make this a means of virtue, and that this could be something or should be something that would bring you closer to God. And then I look at the people who are good in sports and who do well in whether it's a high school career or into college or into professional sports. And I see those people, and I see the way they behaved even in grade school. And I think this is not something that a good Catholic would be attracted to at all.
Yeah, it does make you wonder, because anybody can point out a few people in whatever, let's just say professional, whatever professional sport, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, soccer.
I'm getting some coffee.
You could point out oh, see, this guy, he's a good Christian. He always makes a sign of the cross before a game. He really believes in Jesus. This guy, he's a good Catholic. He goes to Mass, and he makes sure that he gets to Mass no matter what he has to do, even while he's on the road with his games, whatever it is. You can point out those, but they're the exception. And it makes you wonder, is the sports contributing to their, whatever virtue they have? Or are they just hanging on to that in spite of what may be intrinsically within sports a sort of siren call away from virtue?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we grew up in America, and there are all kinds of stereotypes for the jocks. And I know they're not always true, but stereotypes get started for a reason. There's an element of truth
existing
to it.
Patterns. They don't start because somebody was mean-spirited and a bunch of people all at once decided to start thinking of a certain kind of people a certain way.
Yeah. Now maybe not all jocks are slow in the head. Obviously there's some who are very smart. Mm-hmm. But it could be that because they're good in sports, they don't have to try hard at other things, so they allow themselves to become stupid.
Or it could be that sports in the late grade school, high school, and college ages attract those who are already a little bit I don't want to say stupid, but have a little bit, let's say not as mentally agile. Yeah. Because this is a way that they can compete and be recognized and feel good about themselves. And so it attracts people who are perhaps less, mentally acute.
Yeah. Could also be getting hit so many times in the head makes you dumb.
That's true. That's a possibility.
But aside from that, I see most jocks are kind of vain, and they love the attention they get, and they slowly come to think of themselves as kind of godlike. Mm-hmm. Because they're good at what they do. And you don't see that as much in other areas of life. I'm a good tech. I'm a good technician. I know how to fix things. But I don't really, there's not much to go to my head here. So what? So you know how to fix things. You don't make them. So you know what I mean? There's nothing that could make me really point to myself and say, hey, I'm the best. Mm-hmm. And everybody listen to me. And but that is there for them.
It is there for sport. You don't see it probably for most kinds of artists. I'm talking about painters and sculptors. You don't see it, I don't think, for musicians generally. Maybe you see it for certain kinds of doctors. I don't know.
Yeah, that's possible. I don't know any doctors.
But
you see it in cops.
I think it's a different thing for cops. I don't think cops are thinking like, I'm the best. I think cops are like, I'm part of the system. Power. You've got to respect me. I have a badge.
Yeah. But I guess my point about that is that on the whole, the life of a professional sportsman just doesn't attract real Catholics.
Right.
Or, I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to say that. And on top of that, okay, it's been pointed out that there aren't enough real Catholics in these areas. You know, there aren't enough good Catholics playing these sports. I would say that the real problem is that normal Catholic men seem to look up to these professional sportsmen for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I can't figure out. Like, why would I want to idolize whoever's good in football? I can't even tell you the name of a guy. I think of Boomer Esiason and Ickey Woods because those are the last football players I remember.
Yeah.
That's how long it's been since I've even watched the sport. And I admit I kind of gloated when China pretty much took over the entire sports culture. I mean, they own, it seems like everything, and it's looking like they own all of basketball, and a good part of baseball.
Uh-huh.
And we've got all these football players kneeling when we play the anthem, and it just kind of, I guess I got a little, I don't know, self-righteous there. It's like, see, I told you guys, it was a dumb thing to put all your stock in these people, and you don't know these guys, and you look up to them as if they're heroes, but they're not. Most of the time, they're not. And I guess that's what I want to point out. We should not be looking at sports professionals as anything to base our lives on.
Not only that, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, I mean, here's what's weird. I mean, there have been certain, like, contests that I've enjoyed watching. A boxing match that I might enjoy watching. A particular baseball game I might enjoy watching. But in terms of entertainment value, I mean, if you think of it from the point of view of a consumer of sports, when the guys are being paid, it's like, okay, he has one job in life, and that is to be good at kicking a football or pitching a baseball, or playing a certain position, playing a goalie in soccer or hockey or something like that. I'm trying to sort of, it seems to me, in a way that I can't quite articulate, that there's a difference, a qualitative difference between receiving entertainment, consuming as entertainment the performance of, say, a hockey game, versus going to a musical concert. Whether a rock concert or a classical concert, doesn't matter, or watching a good movie, or going to a play, or visiting an art museum. I mean, they all, in some level, reach to a point of entertainment, but all of those other things involve producing a deliberate form that has a point to it. The playwright meant something when he wrote the play. Even if all he meant was to manipulate your emotions in a certain way, he meant to do that with his play. The artist means to make your eye get drawn to certain things within his art, and to perhaps make you feel certain things, or, make you think certain things. The music means to sort of take you on a ride, so to speak, in some way, whether it's good music or bad music. There's meaning behind it. Whereas a sports contest there's nothing there for it. It's at the end of the day, it's just my team won or my team lost, or that team won or that team lost, with no meaning behind it other than to see who would win or lose. And it seems to me that even just as a consumer, there's a qualitative difference there. It's not just another example of the same kind of thing. It's not just another form of entertainment.
Right.
To me, it's qualitatively lower entertainment.
Yeah. And that goes back to using sports as a means of virtue, especially if you're the sportsman and you're the one with the talent. If I were a musician, I would write music that maybe not is necessarily about God, but gives glory to God.
Yeah, your work excels in some manner that, even if you don't write music, if you just play music really, really well.
Right. And then you could even devote part of that to, say, a mass or something like that. Or, if you were someone as great as, like, Mozart, you could actually write a mass. Mm-hmm. And this is a devotion to God. And if you're a painter, I don't understand art really at all. But I do know that painters make paintings that people enjoy looking at. And so you could paint something that makes some sort of statement. And there are painters who made terrible, terrible statements. But there are other painters who make really good statements.
And sometimes the statement is just interior. Sometimes a painter is just, like he might paint something that on some level looks like disjointed and ugly, but he's going through something in his life and he's just expressing it somehow on a canvas, what he's experiencing emotionally, and that's the best way that he can do it. And so viewing his painting is, the statement, so to speak, is nothing more than, hey, I can feel empathy with this painter now because I see what he feels, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course the same thing for writing or reading fiction.
Yeah.
But the sportsman is kind of left with only with his performance. And I can almost appreciate it. I mean, when Thomas was playing football, he had a couple of plays that were just really impressive. And of course, being his parent, I'm like, yeah, that's my kid. My kid did that. But after the performance, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
It was what it was. And now, he's got to go home and, do chores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what's interesting. I mean, there is a beauty to the execution of sports. I mean, watching Michael Jordan slam dunk a basketball was fun. There was beauty in the control of movement that was behind that, especially, when he's being challenged by other guys from the sides and stuff, and he's got these really precise movements as he drives up towards the net and everything. But it's that, that beauty, that perfection, and that quality of execution itself is just for the purpose of the game, which itself ultimately has no purpose other than to entertain, to see, hey, who's going to win and who's going to lose. So it's almost like wasted beauty or something like that. When you see an individual really perform well in the execution of a sport.
And the whole matter gets even more complicated when you get to the fact that number one, you get politics get involved. I don't mean political. I mean, it becomes like a weird...
The sports version of office
behind
politics.
The scenes. Yeah. And it's there. And I saw it as early as third grade. I imagine it gets worse and worse throughout any sportsman's life.
Right.
It becomes part of his or her life. And then I forgot about the point I was going to make. Give me a second here. Oh, I know. Okay. So, but aside from the politics that get involved, there's the money. And
right.
we know what it's for. It's for entertainment, and you've got 1 million people watching this, and the people who are in control of everything are the ones who are going to make the money, and the ones, say, giving the money in order to make it happen. So they seek to maximize the entertainment value of it.
Right.
Meanwhile, and possibly stifling the talent that is entertaining. You know? And I'll give you an example of this. UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Okay.
I used to watch that when it first came out, like the first, say, 5 years of it. Maybe it was a little bit more than that. It was just various guys of various builds and various disciplines getting together in the octagon, and it was a no-holds-barred fight.
Kind of like,
you know?
Like mixed martial arts kind of...
Yeah, you didn't need a discipline.
Yeah.
You just had to be good at fighting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you saw, you know, it was neat to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, this is back when, if anyone followed this, they would recognize the names like Hoist Gracie and Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock. Is that his name? I can't remember that. Anyway, there were certain patterns. Almost every fight would start out punching and kicking, and within a few minutes it would end up on the floor.
Okay.
Wrestling.
Scrapping, wrestling, stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
And almost every fight was like this. Definitely every champion fight was like this. Like the final fight where the two guys are going to decide who's the ultimate fighter. It always started out with punching and then went to wrestling.
Okay.
And some of the fights, I admit, got kind of boring. You know, watching two guys wrestle for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that could be boring.
It got a little bit boring, but it still got you pumped up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, I didn't watch it for a long time because I got into marriage and kids and all that stuff. And then
life.
Yeah, they wanted to have but they wanted to, you know, the boys wanted to put up a TV in Jason's garage, and they wanted to see the UFC because it was on that night, and we were also doing other things. Anyway, so I'm watching this, and I'm like, no way, this is nothing like what I used to watch. These guys are trained to punch nonstop because it's more entertaining.
Oh, so it was more scripted.
These guys, yeah.
Not like
I don't know about
who's going to win,
but
hey guys, try to focus on this kind of fighting.
Yeah, and because people want to see blood, and it just occurred to me that these guys fighting, I guarantee you, they could not beat people like Hoist Gracie.
Oh, okay.
Because they have to stick with what's entertaining.
Yeah.
And so the real talent isn't necessarily getting in. I don't know. Maybe they could get good at the kind of fighting that they used to do, and maybe they would be just as good. All I'm saying is this is not the same fight. And it's because of the moneymakers. It's because of the managers. I imagine the same thing happens in every sport.
Yeah, that's quite possible. It's like,
I mean,
I don't know. I remember because I didn't follow the sports. I don't know the sports well enough to understand this stuff. But for example, in basketball, there's a couple different styles of defense. And there's one style that is strategically better, but it leads to lower scoring games. And some league, I forget if it was like the professional basketball, or if it was like some college league or something like that, basically outlawed that style of defense because they wanted to sell more tickets, so they needed higher scoring games. Mm-hmm. So for that's an example. It's like, okay, you're going to take the sport, and probably it was professional basketball, I don't know, but you're going to take the sport, and then you're going to set the rules up, and then say, oh, wait a minute, the people found out how to follow the rules in ways that are strategically better for them as a team. They keep the other team from scoring as well. And of course that applies in both directions. Yeah. And it's a more strategic game, but we don't sell as many tickets. It's not as exciting. There's not as many, stand up, moments for the crowd. So we're going to alter the rules again and say, you can't do that.
Yeah. That's, I remember seeing a documentary about a guy who, he was one of the guys with the striped shirts, the refs, in basketball. And, okay, this is the way I remember the documentary. And I don't know enough about basketball to say all the right things, but he was saying he got his orders, the 5 or 6 refs who were going to ref that game, they got their orders. This is the team you're going to point against, and this is the team you're going to help.
Wow.
And they pretty much knew at the beginning of every game who was going to win. To the point where, and it's not like he was deciding. Mm-hmm. It was decided for him, and it was told to him.
Right.
And since he had this knowledge, he started selling this knowledge to like mob bosses.
Oh, right. Hey, here's
and
how
it
the
became a big
go.
Gambling thing. They made it sound like his crime was fixing the games.
That wasn't it at all. Yeah.
No, he was convicted for selling the information.
It was basically inside. I mean, it's kind of like insider stock trading.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But the fact that exists, I would think to any normal thinking person would make them think, well, this
is stupid. Why am I even watching? This is
dumb. Why?
Yeah.
This is almost as bad as reality TV. Of course, people watch that too.
That's exactly like, that reminds me of one of the things that even for an event that I would tend to watch live, maybe a baseball game, certain boxing match. Sometimes I like to watch the Indianapolis 500, which isn't quite the same thing because it's not like the guys are out there running.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I never could understand and would never want to do is watch, even if I don't know what actually happened, what the outcome of or anything, is watch a contest event that the contest itself had already taken place.
Yeah, like if it's not live.
Yeah.
I know people who will tape a game
and then watch
and say, don't tell me who won.
It's like you're stupid. What?
Yeah, I always got confused on that one too. And man, I mean, I know guys who would give up sports for Lent. Mm. And they would talk about how hard it is for them not to check the scores on their phones.
It's like, really? Wow. I mean, like I said, it's a certain kind of person.
And I get it that
virtue.
There are, and I don't want to seem high and mighty, because the big thing is, I don't get it. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things, either you get it or you don't.
Yeah.
It's like sappy YouTube videos that make people want to cry. Either you get that or you don't. I think it's stupid.
Videos where you get to watch other people play video games.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Man, my kids do that.
No, my kids do too.
My kids
I don't get it.
I'll be watching them and I'm thinking they're playing and I'm like, go over there, see what that is. He's like, what? I should go over there and see what that.
Dad, it's just a video.
I'm watching him. Someone else is playing. I'm like, oh.
See, when we were kids,
Okay.
I'm sure you were this way too. It's like, okay, you go to a friend's house, he's got the video game system. It's okay, we're going to take turns playing video games. But it's like, when it's not your turn, that is the most boring time ever.
Yeah, it's painful. It's like, come on, die. No.
Exactly.
And then you had guys like Kevin Delaney who could play for 2 hours and not die. And then you get on and your
5
turn
minutes.
lasts about 20 seconds and take on it. But apparently kids nowadays wouldn't mind.
Yeah,
They
I
just
guess
keep
not.
watching.
It's like, okay, yeah, I'll watch you play.
And they're not even waiting for their turn. They
No,
don't have
they
to
just-
sit there and watch it.
They want to watch it. Exactly.
So either you get it or you don't.
Right.
And either you get sports or you don't. And I don't think it's because I wasn't good in sports. I
think a
I
lot
can
of the
run
people
pretty fast.
who get sports and who follow it and who have that impulse to check the game scores all the time, I think a lot of those people aren't good at sports.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the sport. Well, it kind of reminds me of, there was a movie, had nothing to do with golf. I forget,
Caddyshack.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a golf movie. It wasn't even. The thing is, the guy was. It was the guy that broke the story on the cigarette companies having nicotine, and he worked for the news channel.
Yeah.
Anyway, when he was kind of being leaned on, and the one guy who was leaning on him said something like, "You like to play golf?" He's like, "I like playing it more than I like talking about it." So it's like that. See, the guys who play sports, I imagine like, okay, there's somebody who, I want to play it, but I don't want to watch it or talk about it. I'm that way when it comes to golf. I like to play golf. I hate listening to people talk about it, and I hate even worse watching it.
I cannot imagine actually watching an entire game or round, whatever you do with golf, an entire event of golf.
Well, like bowling.
Seems so.
I love bowling. Hate
You know
watching
what?
it.
I like bowling too. But my back will not allow me to bowl more than 2 games. If I bowl more than 2 games in a month, I will spend at least a week not able to work.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, it's so weird because I don't feel it while I'm bowling. But the next day I can't get out of bed.
Yeah. I think a lot of activities are like that.
It sucks. But I really love bowling, and I'm really bad at it. But I love doing it.
But you wouldn't watch it in any case.
I would never watch it. Except for that episode in Malcolm in the Middle when Hal gets the 300. That had to be that was that one where they did the side by side. Like, what if Hal took him there, and what if Lois took him there? And it was funny. That was a funny one. Okay, so I guess what we're trying to say is that Catholic men, I think, have an unspiritually healthy attachment to sports.
Right.
And I don't think it's something that should be encouraged. I'm not saying we ought to discourage it, but I don't think it needs any encouragement.
Yeah. But, here's
it's
the thing.
already that.
There is a proper relationship to sports for Catholic men. And I think it's this. I think first of all, it's social. It's a social activity. It's play. You get together, you play. You go to the park, you pick up a basketball, and you play against other guys in the park. Or tennis or whatever. Second of all, it's activity. What you're doing when you go do that activity is keeping your body in shape so that you can better fulfill your duties as a husband or whatever.
Yeah. Or maybe someday, for kids, in the case of kids, maybe someday the military or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. And even to that degree, perhaps there's a little bit of value in the competitive aspect. So
Yeah.
You know, when you're in business, okay, if you're running a business, you want to get the sale before the next guy does. So you got to think competitively about, you know, within your industry and that kind of stuff. But to become a professional sportsman, that's a whole different kind of thing. That's
right.
That's making the purposeless into your purpose.
Right. And that's fine if you maybe, first of all, understand what you're doing. You are providing entertainment. But
probably
when the sport itself, yeah. Now there is one thing you touched on. Hey, baby. Bella, 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 Bella. That's what I say when Bella shows up.
Oh, okay.
I don't think she's ever heard that song. Money,
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 money, money. I don't think she knows why I do that, but
she thinks you're just a dork.
Yeah. You touched on a social thing, and it still is, you know, for say, hey, we're going over Frank's house and we're going to watch the game.
Yeah,
and that is a
watching
social
it can be
thing.
social too. Right. I was thinking of playing it when I said that, but you're right. It can be social for watching it too.
Or going to a ball game, you know, those times when we got to go to ball games, the big thing about those times was it was always
with our aunts and uncles.
Yeah. But it was always without the other kids.
That's true.
For us, it was like we were having alone time with grandma or one of our aunts or uncles.
Yeah.
Which was a big deal to us. Maybe if our dad had taken us, that would have been a big deal too. But the point is that we were separated from the other kids, so there's a nostalgia there because it's like, but even that, I mean, you know, going to a ball game with your friends, it is fun, you know? I mean, I haven't done it often, but I have done it, and it is a fun thing to do.
Right.
But the fact that coming onto the scene, I already know most of the statistics of all the other players and what kind of strategy they ought to do. I would say that if you're at that point, I think it's unhealthy. Am I losing you?
No, you're not. Yeah, I see what you mean.
I'm hearing my headphones are doing something weird, or
you can't hear me.
If these work.
Okay, well I can hear you.
Well, it's coming in. I'm getting these weird little sizzle sounds as if I'm breaking connection, but I'm right here. Okay, I don't know. Maybe my headphones are losing battery or something. But
I don't know. Maybe
I'll go as long as I can like this.
But you know, it's fun. Are you just like holding the phone?
No, I've got my headphones back on.
All right,
but
these
kind of cut in and out.
These times when our headphones mess up, they make us sound like you know, like dweebs who don't know anything about technology.
Hold on.
While we're trying to do a show. Are you still messing with stuff?
I'm holding the phone.
Oh.
Okay, I'm still having the problem. I'd say it's you.
You'd say it's me? My phone's working perfectly.
So there's this, you know, it just seems like an unhealthy attachment to the whole world of sports. And it really has no purpose whatsoever other than entertainment and some kind of social gathering. When you're playing the sports, it does help your body. I would question how much, I mean, I understand a man has to sometimes be able to defend his family against, you know, I don't know.
Well, I'm thinking more just the keeping the circulation of your body going and that kind of stuff so that your mental acuity is what it needs to be and everything like that. And keeping your heart healthy and not turning into a engorged fat slob and things like that.
Right.
And that's what I'm thinking of. Not that you're going to have to use the particular skills that you have in sports or anything like that. But you know, the other thing is that it's kind of like, okay, we are, as human beings, we're a union of body and soul. And so keeping our body in the shape that God intended our bodies to be is less important, but nonetheless something that at its own level glorifies God. And so the same way that, for example, we might make sure that we spend a certain amount of time in prayer every day. So maybe every morning you and every evening or something like that, you might say the morning office, or the morning and evening office, or you might decide, you're going to say a rosary every day. Whatever it is, you spend a certain amount of time in prayer, aside from the obligatory, like going to mass and stuff. Well, that's kind of spiritual exercise. They even call them that. They have spiritual exercises that you can do, like the retreat exercises of St. Ignatius and so forth. And so at some level, it's like, okay, well, you should maybe for a similar purpose engage in physical exercises too. Now, there's lots of people who their lifestyle gives them enough physical exercise. But there's other people like me whose, my job is programming. That's not very physical active. So I need to go and exercise if I'm not going to become, kind of physically decrepit. I need to get out and perform some kind of activity on a regular basis. And so it might be going for walks, going for runs. Maybe I lift weights or whatever. I haven't done any of those things in a while, but point is that makes sense on that level. And if you're someone who enjoys and has a certain skill for whatever, tennis, basketball, or something, that exercise might be that you go and do that, especially during the summer nights or something like that when the weather's nice outside or whatever. So it was kind of that aspect of it that I really meant. Not so much that you got to be in shape, because you never know when a burglar is going to have to break in your house and you're going to have to scrap with them on the anything like that. You got to be. Yes, I mean, the more you lounge and stuff, the worse shape you're in and the harder time you have living. And, your physical body and the shape of it does affect your ability to think. Mm-hmm. In more ways than most people would even realize. But at the same time, most Americans are not in danger. Well, no, I don't. Maybe not. I don't know. They keep telling us we have this obesity problem, but everywhere I look, people are worshiping their bodies and worshiping their health. Yeah. So how are those two things true? Is it just that there's two? I think it's two sides of the same
just
coin.
A polar. Yeah.
It's okay. The obesity problem or the body worship problem, you're still worshiping your body. It's just, are you going to worship your body through immediate pleasures like food, and you keep cramming it in your mouth, and you let the TV wash over you and never get up and do anything? Or is it going to be that you worship your body by working out all the time and making sure that, monitoring your fat levels and your BMIs and that kind of stuff? Either way, it's unhealthy.
And that seems to, most people are in danger of falling into that, as opposed to not using sports to come closer to God.
Oh, right.
I don't think, if we're going to push Catholic men to do something masculine that will bring them closer to God, I don't think it's sports.
Right.
That's not, there's got to be something else. Because that's the secular answer to everything. And that's not what we ought to be about, it seems. Now, again, as we've already said, we grew up without any interest in sports. So, okay, there's a little bit of bias here. When you don't get something, then you see other people getting it and maybe going too far with it. It's easy to say, well, okay, you ought not to do that. But
or you're weird for doing that.
Yeah. But I don't think more Catholics should be more into sports. I think the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. And we should pay less attention to sports. And young Catholic boys should not see the hero worship of sports figures in their fathers. They should not see their fathers hanging up posters of sports figures. That's
especially weird.
That's juvenile.
Me. Yeah, that to me is like that's like getting things backwards.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I don't know. Not just posters, but things like, oh, so-and-so signed this baseball.
Yeah.
Or things like that. And collecting all this,
I have so-and-so's jersey on the
stuff.
wall,
Like,
whatever. Yeah.
It's I think it's kind of gay, but I don't think it's good for men, and I don't think it's good for boys seeing men behave that way.
Right.
It's not the way men ought to behave. I guess I don't have much more to say about that.
No, I think
I guess by now, people either hate us and they've already turned us off, or they love us and they're going to subscribe to our channel.
That's right.
But I don't mean to put anyone down.
Sports is not bad.
I've always thought
it's just its place. It has a proper place, and it is way blown out of its proper place right now in American, probably Western, and possibly world culture. Yeah,
that's what we ought to be fighting, not fighting to get more Catholics to play more sports. That's not the direction that needs to be shot. It's kind of like it reminds me a little bit of like you got boys who do they have certain behaviors that are really just a part of being a boy, and you don't necessarily. It's part of being a boy, but not part of being a man.
Mm-hmm. Right.
For example, burping out the alphabet, something like that. You tell them not to do it, knowing they're going to do it anyway, and you turn a blind eye to it when they do it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing
things
to get.
That you say, don't do that, and because when they do it in front of you, you have to say don't do that, but they're going to do it when they're out with their friends goofing around, and you don't care that they do it when they're out with their friends goofing around.
Right. It's just you need to learn how to act like an adult, and I'm showing you how to be an adult, and I'm really not all that interested if you go act like a kid in any other setting. And I think sports are that way. I don't think men should be really encouraging their kids in sports, because most boys are competitive in some one way or another. But I'm competitive as much as any other guy. I just never liked sports because I thought it's a dumb competition. If we could say who makes the best XYZ, I'm all in.
Chili.
But when there's nothing to be had at the end of it, then I just lose interest in it.
Yeah.
So I guess my point is, we should at least allow boys to compete, and they'll do that naturally most of the time in some sort of sport or game. And it should be not because of how much it's taken over our culture. I don't think it should be encouraged. I think it should be allowed, just not encouraged.
Right.
I think that would be the proper Catholic household attitude towards sports.
Right.
And I definitely think girls are way too much into sports. I'm sad for most girls. Mm-hmm. The level of competition that they seem to feel, it's like, why? This is not feminine. It doesn't help you become a woman.
Yeah,
sports does, in a sense, somewhat help you become a man.
Right.
But softball doesn't help a girl be a girl, or volleyball, or certainly not football.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think you got anything else?
No.
Okay. We'll talk about some news.
Okay, you talk about some news. I am going to
get coffee. Okay, so Newsmax has a story. They're announcing that the Vatican is already in the steps of preparing for a conclave because Pope Francis is, quote, dying. They don't, it's an anonymous source. If I didn't even read the whole article because you have to pay to read it, and I'm not going to pay Newsmax. But that's what they're reporting, and other people are reporting off of that. But it all leads back to a Newsmax story. And they don't really say whether dying means like he's got a bad infection and it's probably going to kill him, or dying as in he's got cancer and sometime in the next 2 years he'll be dead. That's what we're kind of unsure of at this time. Or if the story itself is in any way real. But the scuttlebutt right now is that Pope Francis is dying and probably won't live through 22, which I don't know. I mean, you know, at a time like this when the Pope is dying, it's like you remember when the Supreme Court justice dies who allowed abortion to continue. It's like you weren't allowed to say bad things about him, but I don't really understand that. I mean, this Pope has kicked us in the gut over and over again, and maybe another Pope could have done a lot worse. Maybe another Pope could have completely ripped away the TLM from us. But Pope Francis has been trying to, or at least he's been strategically striking it down. So I don't see any reason to act like this would be bad for the church. It could, if the Pope dies, it's probably going to be good for us because he is a enemy of the TLM, and he's done a lot of things that are going to end up killing the TLM if it's not reversed by someone in the future. So obviously we pray for his soul. I don't want him to go to hell, but I don't want him to be Pope anymore. And there's only one way, well, there's two ways of him getting out of being Pope. Either A, he resigns, or B, he dies.
So what we could do is...
I want one of those two things to happen.
We could pray more generically that his actions get reversed.
Yeah.
Because that opens up a third way for him to have a change of heart.
Yeah. And that would be really great. And I don't even know, like, if, let's say he converts tomorrow and he's like, oh my gosh, what have I done to my own people? Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if he could reverse all the damage he's done. He has done so much damage. And not just by the edicts and the canons that he's and the letters that he sent out. Just he's given us all a black eye because everybody's like, oh, you Catholics are a bunch of hypocrites. Your own Pope doesn't even believe in hell.
Yeah.
That's the way it's been reported. It's like he's so bad for the Catholic Church. I'm not gonna apologize for not wanting him to be the leader of the Catholic Church. It'll be really good for us if he's not Pope tomorrow.
Now, could get a worse Pope.
We could get a worse Pope.
But hard to imagine how. But
yeah. Well, you know, we depend on the Holy Spirit to protect us. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I imagine in the 70s, people were praying to the Holy Spirit for protection. But most of the world lost the Latin Mass.
Yeah.
And it was gone for a long time from a lot of people. You know, when I think it was the 80s probably when it came to Cincinnati, you think? Mm-hmm. Late 80s?
Yeah.
So close to 20 years with no Latin Mass. That would stink. That'd be awful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Holy Spirit's still there, but I really love the Latin Mass, and I don't want to lose it. Okay. Anyway, the Senate passed a resolution Wednesday to repeal Biden's vaccination or testing mandate for the private sector employees.
Okay, so this is the mandate that he rolled out and through OSHA, right?
Yeah.
And the court said, no, you can't do that. You're not to enforce it. And now the Senate has passed a resolution to say, no, we're not going to do that. And now it'll be a matter of law that we're not going to do that. And so...
And possibly
President
that
can't
he's
do
not
it.
allowed to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And this went through Senate with a 52-48 vote.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not razor thin. Well, I guess that's
That's
razor
pretty
thin.
thin.
52-48.
Four votes.
And which means that we had to have some Democrats vote with
Yeah.
us.
Okay. We'll take them.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But we just keep... I mean, it's like, to me, Pope Francis is like Joe Biden. It's like he's got a certain number of years, and we just pray that the damage that he's doing can be undone. We
Once
know
he's
it
gone.
will be undone
Right, eventually.
in the church, but that's not necessarily true with America. America could be gone in a few years, and that's a real possibility, and it's not like there's no promise for America.
Mm-hmm.
It could disappear. A woman was found dead in her car, which was floating down the Niagara River.
Which, before or after the falls?
Before. As a matter of fact, they got right up to the falls.
Oh, wow.
I don't even understand how it didn't go over.
Wow.
I saw
weird.
a picture of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I get it was like a 60-something-year-old woman. Have you been to the falls?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Okay. I only went to the falls once.
Me too.
And it was a weird experience because I did not know there were two parts that you could see. I saw the small ones.
Oh, okay.
I was very impressed with the small ones. I didn't know you could go down this trail and you could go see the big ones. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking, well, this is what they look like on TV. Yeah. This is impressive. It's great, but it's not what I remember seeing on TV. What happened was, I was in Niagara, or not Niagara, Buffalo, doing some, I think it was No, I was a technician. I was fixing something. And I didn't have any spending money. So I go into the thing to park, and it's like, you can either only be here for 10 minutes, or you can pay $10 to park.
Wow.
And I mean, I had $10, but I didn't want to.
Yeah, spend it on parking.
It's like I only had $10, so.
Especially for a half hour of parking or something stupid like that.
Yeah. So I parked my car, I ran to the falls, I took some pictures, and just the noise of standing there. And it was at night too. I couldn't really see them real well. But that's some strong water.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, as you're driving down towards the falls and you pass parts of the river, you're not even at the falls. Mm-hmm. But the force of that river's really impressive.
Wow.
And for someone to have driven their car into that would be scary. Anyway, I saw a picture of the car. It's like right before the falls. I don't know how they held it back to keep it from going over, but it didn't go over. And they got the woman out before. Maybe it did go over
But she
and they
was
just
already
got the
dead.
woman out first. Yeah. So
they'll probably do an autopsy or something. I mean, they'll figure out, okay, did she drown in the river, or did she die of a heart attack first and then maybe drive into the river already dead, or what?
Yeah. They have done that, and they're not releasing any
information or anything.
Details yet. I guess, they're letting the family have their privacy or whatever.
Sure.
So the Micronesian president. So Micronesia is this little string of islands in Oceania.
Okay.
Condemns the outcome of the climate summit. Remember, we talked about that a couple times, saying that the industrialized nations must increase their commitments in order to help countries switch from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And I guess he's got a point here. You guys want everybody to switch to these expensive cars, but it costs money.
Oh, and you're not gonna, you're gonna.
If you're
make
a nation
the money.
full of rich guys, yeah, you guys are going to make all the money. If you're rich guys, that's fine. But if you don't have money, if you're a poor nation, how is that supposed to work? It's BS.
It is kind of weird that because for a long time, everybody's been able to make, anybody's been able to make cars. Cars have been coming from anywhere, but you're seeing more and more of a variety of common cars, regular cars, folk cars, people cars from different countries. Where it used to be, it was maybe America and Japan, and now, you've got China, you've got Korea in there, you've got folk cars now from Italy with, Fiat and all. And for a while you had Renault, which is French, and that went away, and Volvo was, kind of a little bit nicer. But the thing is, I think that's expanding, and I think it's almost as if people are getting together and saying, wait a minute, it's becoming too easy, because they had the regulations with the quality of airs and stuff. It's becoming too easy for all these pipsqueak upstarts to make cars that are meeting our regulations. We got to come up with something else to cut them out of the picture. So we're going to start insisting on a whole different kind of car, renewable energies, something like that. We'll be able to make them. We'll be able to pay for them. They won't be able to compete in the market. And then through treaties, we'll force them to still buy these new expensive cars.
That's something to think about. Yeah. So New Zealand Defence Force and police go to the Solomon Islands in order to stabilize the country after days of rioting and looting. Now, when I saw that story, I followed the story, and I really couldn't figure out why they were looting and rioting.
Huh.
My thoughts were probably some kind of COVID thing. But what it actually is that in the Solomon Islands, the government there is very corrupt and has all kinds of ties to China. And that's what people are protesting. That's something we could do here, I think.
Same as Hong Kong earlier.
Yeah. So, let's see, there's a volcano in Indonesia, East Java. I think the death toll last time I checked is 39. And many, many, many others injured. So, okay, did you hear about the school shooting with
up in Michigan?
Ethan Crumbley?
Yeah, I was real close to where I used to live.
Okay. So the parents of that boy have been arrested. James and Jennifer Crumbley. They're charged with manslaughter for their, quote, role. I don't know what all that includes, but I understand they actually bought the gun.
They bought the gun,
Maybe some
which
of the
is
ammo.
not a big deal. there's weirdness going on here. So there's like, so they bought a gun for their kid. They got it like a Black Friday deal or something like that. Okay, they bought a gun. All right, I don't know what the like life in the home was like between them and the kid or anything like that. But they got the kid the gun. Well, apparently he was like at school. He was like, I don't know whether it was on his phone or a school computer or what, but he was like looking up how to buy ammo online or something like that. Well, okay, whatever. How to buy ammo online, so what?
If you have a gun,
you need ammo, you got to buy it online. Well, apparently this was a big deal to the school. Everybody, going cuckoo and everything over it. And so then the mom apparently sent him a private, a message. I don't know, text message, tweet, whatever. I don't know what it is. Some kind of message.
Yeah.
I'm not upset with you. Just don't get caught next time or something like that. Which is a weird way to put it.
Sounds reasonable so far.
I mean, it's reasonable, but it's a weird way to word it. I would be more like, well, of course you can look up how to buy ammo online, but you don't got to do it while you're at school. Do that at home.
Don't do it at
something
school.
Like that.
Yeah.
Not the whole "don't get caught" thing is a weird way to put it. But people, I mean, but I don't. It doesn't really register that high on my radar in terms of, I don't know, parental negligence or anything like that. It's like, okay, maybe you're some kind of weird hillbilly hick redneck parent who doesn't, think through things or know how to say things, whatever. Then the day of the shooting, the school found these like pictures these, I guess, disturbing pictures he had drawn or something like that. And they brought the parents in to look at the pictures and said, you need to take them home and get them like psychological counseling within the next 48 hours. And the parents said, no, we're not going to take them home. And they refused to take them home. So the school sent him back into the classroom. Now, now he already had the gun with him at school by the time all this happened on this particular day. Now, here's the thing. I don't know. I mean, the parents either had to, like, it's like, every parent has a bias, like, towards his kid.
Yeah.
Unless the relationship has already completely deteriorated. So, like, if it has, a parent could be like, well, don't tell me to take the kid home. You guys are the professionals. You need to find how, and you need to help us as parents find how to deal with this.
Right.
Go call the police or something if you think this is a big deal. Or, but if the parent's not there yet, then they're like, okay, this is my kid. Okay, that's weird pictures. Yeah, I'm going to have to talk to him when he gets home and find out what this is about. But there's no reason to take him out of school. Go back to class.
Right.
You see what I mean? And people want to connect that with the whole with looking for ammo online. But to my mind, the looking for ammo is such a non-event that it's not worth connecting to anything else. So what you really have is just these weird, disturbing drawings, and you've got the one day where either the parents were like, it's like this is the first time they've seen something that might be indicative of oddness. Well, like I said, every parent is biased towards his kid. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know. To me, it's just a real hard sell to understand what exactly the grounds for the parents are or what the role is. And the only thing I can think is either this is a big setup to the parents. It's going to be like another Kyle Rittenhouse thing where the parents are concerned. I mean, the kid did kill people. He's got to be punished. He's got to go to jail, whatever, prison, whatever. But from the parents' point of view, it's either like this whole setup, or there's a whole lot of stuff that authorities have discovered that we don't know anything about yet because they're not releasing or whatever.
I'm thinking
it's got to be one or
the
other.
Case. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, but if you put yourself in the parents' situation on that day, just purely from what we know, it's like, okay, I'm at work, my wife's at work, we have to come here and meet with you, and now you're telling us to take our kid home, but my boss is expecting me back.
I gotta get back to work.
And I have no way of knowing that this is actually a situation that requires immediate attention, other than the fact that you're telling me it is. But parents tell you, or teachers tell you that all the time.
Yeah, teachers have gotten so reactionary, they lose credibility with parents. And
yeah,
the fact is, think about what parents have been told for the past, I don't know, 20, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, about the behaviors of their kids. They're given every excuse to not be so, they're going through hormonal times, so they're going to act out.
Yeah.
It's okay. And then other things that parents...
Everything's okay.
Parents have been brought up, for example, hey, we shouldn't get involved with, like, maybe sexual activity. Oh, but kids are going to do that. You can't be, you can't be a helicopter parent, hover over them, try to discourage that. They're going to do it anyway. You just need to make sure that they know how to be safe. And that. So parents have been fed this stream of ready excuses to make for their children's behavior, for the behaviors that they, the parents, would consider problematic, disconcerting, indicative of, some underlying problem. Mm-hmm. And so now when this one thing is presented to them, of course they're going to be like, oh, okay, okay, it's just a kid. He's drawn some weird pictures. He's got some things to work out. Yeah, I'll talk to him about it when he gets home. The people who should have been able to act are the actual professionals. The social counselor at the school, the psychologist at the school, or psychiatrist or whatever they have at the school. Those are the people who would have been able to recognize and say, wait, this is indicative of a problem. We ought not have this kid in class. Let's call the police and have him taken into custody. And then when his parents get around to dealing with that, they can deal with the authorities.
Not only that, they've, in some cases, made it impossible for parents to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are laws. It's like, well, you can't do this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. Okay, I've got a kid who's doing, what the hell am I supposed to do?
Right.
Well, call the police. Well, the police come and then
they say, oh, well,
they say, okay, and then they leave because the jails are all full.
Right.
And so exactly what are you supposed to do as a parent when you have a troubled teenager?
Right.
They've created an impossible situation for some parents.
So I'm thinking that if the parents have a criminally liable role, a good case can be made that the school probably has an even more liable and criminally liable role in this incident.
Right. I guess we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
See, we already did that one. So the United States announces a formal diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympics in Beijing, China.
Okay.
This is in regard to their human rights record, which just seems so odd. This is after Trump has done everything he could to take power from China.
Yeah.
And now we're going to boycott the China and because of and we're not hurting them, we're just boycotting the Olympics.
Yeah.
That doesn't really hurt anyone.
So there's going to be no
U.S. Anyway.
There's not going to be any U.S. competitors. That's what we mean by boycott.
That's what
right?
That's what it seems. That's the way I'm reading this, but I can't really get to that.
It doesn't say that outright.
Right. But UK, Canada, and Australia have all joined us in this boycott.
Okay.
So, I don't know. It's just Trump did everything he could to take power from China and put it back in the hands of the U.S. And
we've lost most
the Biden
of that
administration
already.
Immediately undermined
Just
all
gave
of it.
it all back.
And now, yeah, there's the, well, it's
now
weird.
we're going to boycott the
Because almost
Olympics,
right away
so
when Biden became president, wasn't there that incident where they were calling out China on human rights violations?
Yeah.
And China's like, hey, don't talk to us. By your own admission, you're a country that's
you guys are racist.
Founded on racism or something like that.
Yeah. And we shut up after that. It was like...
So it's kind of weird.
This is insane.
It's like, first of all, how does the administration have any credibility when it does things like this? And second of all, what's going on?
It doesn't actually accomplish
It's
anything.
like they're schizophrenic.
Yeah. It's like they want everybody to see how much they're against this Chinese power and this Chinese abuse of power, but
in reality, they're friends
something
of
about
China.
it.
Yeah,
we're still buying all their crap.
They'll only do symbolic things like this and not real things that Trump was doing.
Yeah. Like Trump said, hey, we're going to make our own stuff instead of buying it from you. And Biden put a stop to all that to make sure manufacturers couldn't manufacture in the U.S. But, I don't know. It's a shame. A bill to criminalize the widely discredited practice of conversion therapy passes the Senate in Canada.
Yeah, Canada's always been a friend of the gays like that.
That's fine to be a friend of the gays, but basically, if you are gay and you don't want to be gay, you are not allowed to seek treatment.
That's what I mean, a friend of the gay community. It's like, hey, you got to be one of us. You're not allowed to try to change.
Yeah, it's, I mean, that's got to be the most backward thing.
Yeah,
It's just, it's so bad, and to me, this is like, let's make it illegal to evangelize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the kind of rule this is.
That's exactly the kind of thing it is.
And it's gonna hurt Christians, but it's gonna give Christians the chance to become martyrs.
That's right.
And maybe this is what we needed. Maybe this is why the church is so weak, and why we have a pope who's a heretic, because we've not really had to be martyrs. Mm-hmm. And maybe now we will.
Put us there.
Of course, that's only in America. In other countries, there are martyrs.
Yeah, that's true.
That kind of cheapens it. I guess I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, because white martyrs is... I mean, we can at least start standing up and suffering white martyrdom.
Yeah. Whereas in places like the East,
you get your head
the Mideast, yeah, they actually kill them. Joe Biden rules out deploying American troops to Ukraine to kind of ward off these Russian invasions. He is saying that the option was never on the table.
All right, so we're going to abandon Ukraine to Russia too.
Yeah. Which I guess we kind of knew was going to happen, but I mean, back when during the Trump administration, that video of Biden got popular where he basically said, you guys are really actually investigating me when you investigate this guy. So either fire this guy who's investigating me, or you won't get any aid money. Mm-hmm. And so they fired the guy, so they got the aid money, but they didn't get aid money to help them with weapons or defense. It was like we gave them a bunch of blankets or something stupid like that.
Okay.
But they... Oh, well. You know what? It's one of those things where it's like they're going to have to fight this out themselves. The way America fought off Great Britain. Mm-hmm. Only it stinks because Russia's like right next door to them, so they've got a lot more fighting to do. But, maybe this is good for Ukraine. I don't know.
it stinks because I'm sure it's going to get kind of ugly.
Yeah.
But that's all the news I got.
Okay. Well, I have a few nonsense items. Don't have many, just 4.
Okay.
So, first of all, if you had to be stuck somewhere in a storm, can you think of a better place to be stuck than in an IKEA? Like if you have to be stuck overnight.
Oh, because, you got
everything.
Stuff.
So, 6 customers and a couple dozen employees were stranded overnight by a snowstorm in Copenhagen. But it was in an IKEA store, so they were able to just make bedrooms for themselves.
Yeah.
And
you stay
enjoy
out
the
of my
night.
room.
That's right.
This is my room.
You see that tape along the floor? That's my room.
Do you remember that show?
WKRP.
It was a
That's what you think I know. 'Cause that's what I was thinking of too.
He had all the tape around the floors where his office
He
is.
would walk up. He would pretend to open the door and then shut it as he walked through.
That's right. He did. I forgot about that. Okay.
All right. Let's see what else I got. Okay. In the UK, we have. Okay. So you remember that guy that restored that statue in Spain?
The really bad
The
one?
really bad one.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think he's taken up tattoo work.
He's doing tattoos now.
A woman in the UK, her arm was ruined by a botched tattoo that looks like a child drew it. And when you look at the tattoo, what she intended to get, an exemplar tattoo, next to what he actually drew, it's like, oh my gosh, that is so bad.
Okay. Did you send me a link to this?
You know what? I forgot to send you these. Hold on just a minute. Let me see no, but I'm going to do this real quick.
Okay. Is one of your stories the Kansas nativity scene?
No.
Okay, well, I'll talk about that.
Oh, is there a Kansas nativity? I didn't.
In Kansas, there's a nativity scene, and it's like a drive-through nativity scene, and so people drive through. You remember
kind of like the
walkthrough
one at the conservatory? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so you had live people and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was pretty neat.
Yeah, it was real neat. We love to go to that.
They had camels.
Oh, wow.
And when the camels got loose. So there's a camel running around the city. And, let's see, camels can run 40 miles an hour. That's fast. Mm-hmm. I did not know they could run that fast. This is in Bonner Springs. This is in Kansas City.
Okay.
I guess Bonner Springs is the neighborhood it was in. But, you see him there on the road. He's just running down the road.
Something you don't see every day.
I remember in Harvest Home has this festival every year, and they would bring live. It's like Harvest Home is
it was
a park.
Yeah,
it's right in the middle of a city,
and it's a big park
and
too.
There's no country stuff anywhere near it. But every year we have a fair. And it's very much like a country fair. People bring in their livestock and show it.
Isn't that... It can't be like the Hamilton County Fairgrounds, but it's kind of like a 4-H... It's like the 4-H fair.
It's Western Hills. Well, now it is. It's gone to more or less mostly... The farming stuff is more or less in control of 4-H. But it used to be a Western Hills... And all surrounding Cincinnati would enter their stuff.
Okay. Because you'd have like the livestock out.
It was kind of the west side of Cincinnati.
Yeah. Beyond the city, people would have their livestock and everything, but it was like it was like the 4-H fairs, except it was smaller, and you could go see and I remember it used to stink and stuff when I was a kid, but we'd go there, every year they'd have it. You could go see it and stuff, and then of course they had the.
Well, one year.
Wow,
a big white cow got loose.
Oh my gosh.
And I guess
I don't remember that.
Jason and Bobby were staying out that night.
Uh-huh.
You know how we used to like set up a tent in the backyard, and they were staying out, and then they got up real early. I don't know if they were on their way to a restaurant or if they were, like it was Sunday morning, they went to mass. But they saw this big white cow running down the road. And then they saw a cop and they pulled him over. They said, there's a big white cow over there. And he kept saying, big white cow, big white cow. But if you say that to Jason, say, Jason, big white cow. I don't know what you're talking about. Because they couldn't convince this cop that they were telling the truth.
They thought, is this the new kids thing? They try to convince a cop there's a white cow.
These two little preteens are telling me there's a big white cow running down the road.
All right, I'll play with
big white cow.
There
was a giant white cow. Big white cow. Big white cow. So if you went to a cop and said, there's a camel up the street. Big brown camel.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see this botched tattoo.
Oh, yeah. Did you get the link?
Oh, my gosh. I see what...
Okay, you see what it looks like? Scroll down past the video thing, and they've got a side-by-side, just still images.
Wait a minute. No. Wait a minute. She wanted those books?
Yeah, with all the flowers and stuff.
Didn't he, like, bother drawing it first, maybe?
I don't know.
Couldn't she say, I don't like that, that's ugly, and so, I don't want that?
I have
and so he
no
could
idea.
say, oh, okay, I'll
it could be that she hasn't really been to tattooists and didn't know that that's what they're supposed to do, or something like that. I don't know, but that is so bad.
Maybe that's like pay your drunk boyfriend to, he gets a new tattoo. Here, I'll do it. And well, he can draw, so he'll probably be good at drawing on my arm with a needle.
But that's the thing. It's like, that's the same impression you get when you look at that statue, too, in Spain.
but tattoos are different because you can see what you're doing.
I know.
Like a 2-year-old could do this better, I think.
Yeah, everything you're saying.
I didn't know those were supposed to be books.
Not until you scroll down. I know. It's like, what on earth is it? Like, is there like a little sailboat there, or it's being plowed under by Noah's Ark or something?
But tattoos are painful, right?
Yes,
I've never had a tattoo.
Me neither. But supposedly
you're
they
sticking
are
yourself on a needle
again and again.
So
like
I imagine you're not asleep.
No.
So at one point, didn't she say, "Dude, that doesn't look anything like"?
The thing is,
it's
on her
stop
arm,
right now.
But it's like, I don't know what part. Like, is it on her? It
looks like her
top
forearm.
Part of her forearm, because it doesn't quite show how her hand is facing, or is it like the bottom of her forearm? Well, either way, she ought to be able to see it. I don't know. That's so bad.
It is pretty bad. Okay.
All right. Next, there's a video of a semi-trailer. Like, somebody was in their car and they saw a semi-trailer, like, dragging a car down the road in Illinois, and it's just dragging it. You can see it. It's like the video itself. You can see it's from somebody's windshield, and that truck's just moving along, dragging this car along the road. Eventually he pulls over, but it's like, my lord, what led to that? And it's going on for hundreds of feet. He seems oblivious for a long time. My guess is at one point he looked out his like side view mirror and noticed it and pulled over. But
shoot, I'm dragging a car.
Exactly. It's like, how do you not feel the drag? It's like, man, my load feels heavier than usual. There must be a lot of wind or something, or just the sound.
Or hear something like,
maybe he's a.
Maybe his
or something.
Like his. Oh, you know what? Okay, so think of it this way: the car has to get there first of all. You should be able to feel that impact when the car hits him, and it's like, hey, what happened? And get out and check it out. Or maybe he was
Had his radio up real
Maybe
loud?
he thought it was a hit and run or something.
And he's trying to get away. Like, shoot, that car just hit me.
And
I'm there. Never mind.
But no,
go.
you would check if that happens. Yeah. You would look in the mirror and be like, okay, are they after me or what? But I mean, I'm thinking maybe you don't hear it because you have the music up real loud or you have headphones on or something.
But I think you'd feel it still. The continuous drag.
So.
But what's funny is okay, we're making fun of the truck driver ish. But what about the driver of this Accord? The news story said it was changing lanes when the car somehow got stuck beneath the passenger side of the Freightliner. Now, what you're changing lanes? Okay, I can see like a small car stuck in your blind spot and you end up bumping it. How do you not see a semi truck right next to you when you're getting ready to change lanes in that direction?
I saw someone do that though once.
Like bump into a semi?
Well, he was okay. The lane is splitting up because there's construction coming up. So there are cones. There's a right lane and a left lane, and cones are separating them, and the cones are getting further and further apart because they're splitting up into an exit.
Okay.
It wasn't actually an exit, it was just a split, and then it would come back together later.
Yeah, one of those.
But this car seemed to be having trouble deciding which side he was going to go on. And he went on the left side, and then after the cones started, like he just changed his mind suddenly. I think he was trying to lose someone who was following him.
Plowed through the cones?
He jerked to the right lane and almost hit me.
Oh.
But I had seen him acting kind of weird, and I had started slowing down. But he ended up, there was a semi on my right, and so he went all the way through my lane into the next lane and slammed into the semi, just like you see that there.
Oh, wow.
And, of course, I slammed on my brakes. Everybody's stopping. This is on the highway. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Like why would a person do this? Something's wrong. And I'm just kind of sitting there trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do next. And the dude gets out of his car. And behind me, somebody gets out of their car. And it was a girl getting out of her car. And she runs past me. And she says the guy's name. And the guy looks at her and then runs off into the woods.
Huh. Weird.
So I guess she was chasing him or something, and he was trying to lose her, and he smashed into the semi, and I don't even know how he got out. I mean, it was pretty rough, but he got out and just ran off.
Yeah.
And I'm still sitting there trying to figure out what to do. She got back in her car and drove off, and the poor semi the driver's getting out of his car. He's like, "Did you see it? Did you?" I said, "Yeah, I saw it." He said, "I did not hit that guy. You saw it. I did not hit it." He was worried.
Yeah,
he was scared to death.
Well,
maybe he'd been in an accident before, but he's worried about his job and everything
I
else.
know, because they come down hard on truckers. Plus, it's like the trucking companies have the whole, zero tolerance policies, and then there's the big question about the insurance, whose insurance is gonna, and I think there's a tendency for the insurance companies to kind of always sort of bias on the side against truckers and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I said, I'll stick around for the cops, and give you a statement or whatever. Here, you can have my phone number, something like that. But it was a really bizarre set of events that it's like maybe one of the most bizarre 30 minutes of my life seeing this.
Wow, I bet.
And I never did figure out what. I think, when the cop questioned me, I did find out that there was a marriage and a boyfriend involved.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know how that worked.
Whether that was the husband or the boyfriend that was running.
I don't know.
All right.
Okay.
Well, last one, not really news so much, personal story, kind of funny. So my son needed a battery for his car, and he goes to AutoZone to buy a battery, and the guy specs it out, and kind of kudos to AutoZone. I'm not going to say which AutoZone because I don't want this guy to get in trouble. But he says, you know, they have these batteries like $60 cheaper at the Rural King. So my son said, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll go get it at the Rural King then. Thanks. So he goes to the Rural King, and he uses their, he uses AutoZone's like app to spec out the battery and everything, and then goes and finds it at the Rural King, brings it to the counter, and the guy checking him out rings it up, and he looks at my son and says, would you like to add a core to that? And my son's kind of like, huh? And, in his mind, wondering, and he looks at the screen and it says, add core charge, yes, no, question mark. So he says, no, that's okay. So he says no, rings it up, and he leaves with the battery.
Okay, so they did not charge him for a
They did not charge him for a core. The kid who was ringing it up did not understand what that was about. Would you like to, would you like to add a core to that? No, I'm good.
I wonder if he got in trouble for that.
I don't know that anybody ever found it or would have found it.
For people who don't purchase car parts, this is what was going on.
This.
I mean, like a woman might not know this. The guy's ringing it up, and the register is asking him, did the customer bring the old battery with them? If they brought the old one with them, you don't charge them for the core. If they didn't, that means you got to charge them $40, and they have to bring their old battery back to get the $40 back.
They call that a core
That's
charge.
what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, and there's lots of car parts that are like that. For some cars, alternators can be like that. I think sometimes starters can be like that, but not as frequently.
Used to be brake pads were.
Brake pads, really? Wow. Okay.
For some of them. Yeah.
So,
long time ago.
But I brakes.
But I can imagine
like
a young kid who doesn't know. But you would think that they would. Yeah, calipers.
Yeah. But you'd think they'd train them.
You'd think that somebody would train him and be like, okay, there's a core charge on this. You got to get.
Here's what a core charge is. They get it when they go. But no, he's like, would you like to add a core to that? No, I'm good.
If you're training for a job where you're ringing up customers to buy parts, I would think within the first hour that situation should arise, and you would be able to know.
Especially like you're shadowing someone. But the thing is, this is not a car parts store. This is the Rural King, which is just like farm equipment.
What is
stuff.
the Royal King?
Oh,
okay. Farm equipment. Okay.
Think like Harbor Freight, except more focused towards farm and yard stuff.
Okay.
It's like that, and they happen to sell batteries.
Farm and Tractor here in Cincinnati. Okay, I see. Okay, well, I can see that.
Yeah, it's forgivable.
Yeah,
but it's still funny. Just the way he worded it. Would you like to add a core to that?
You want a core with that? You want to add a core to that? No, I'll take it without the core. What if he had said yes? I wonder what she would have given him.
I know, that's what I'm wondering. It's like, okay,
all right, we got cores somewhere around here.
Go out over the PA. Customer needs help.
Hold on. Yeah, she would have had to find a core to give him. And then he would have gotten home and said, Dad, what do I do with this core?
She called it a core.
I don't know what it is or what I do with it. Oh, you take that back and get your $40 back. Well, I could have just not taken it then.
Yeah.
That was a big waste of time.
Anyway.
Oh,
so that is all I've got today.
I don't think I have a saint.
Oh.
Wait a minute. We did this one. We did that. I don't have a saint.
Okay, we'll do a saint next time anyway. I gotta watch my time because I gotta get up for work tomorrow morning.
We have to find a new schedule because Wednesdays aren't working. Well, for the past 3 Wednesdays.
Yeah, hasn't worked out.
You canceled, but I didn't fight it because I've been sick as a dog.
I kind of canceled both of them. Then I canceled the 1 week, and then and that was a
I don't
that
think
was a
I
rough
even
week.
Yeah. I didn't even text you the next week.
Then last week, it's like, well, I could do the. It ended up that the only day I could do it was Friday when you had company anyway, so we ended up not being able to do it.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All right,
but we got to work out something.
I'm thinking Thursdays are going to start working. Thursday nights.
I could do Thursdays.
Okay, let's see. Now next Thursday,
we'll start playing on that.
Next Thursday is the 16th.
Next Thursday, I can't do it that week.
You can't do it that week?
No, I was just mocking you.
Yeah. Next Thursday is the 16th.
Because you said Thursday.
And then the 23rd, and then the 30th. All of those days we ought to be able to do without really running into, can't do it because it's, too close to Christmas or something like that. Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. So hopefully you'll get a podcast, and I apologize for people who were looking for them because I know how much people look forward to our podcast each week.
Right, and I'm sure none of you care what day we actually do it on because it's not like you get it that day.
Yeah, because I spend time on them. All right, well, folks, think about what we said, and as
Circle
always,
the beads.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.